This is the Get Savvy Show, brought to you by the Reluctant Leader Academy. I'm your host, Mark Terrell, and on each episode, I'm going to help you get savvy to allow you and your business to grow. We'll be focusing on the three elements that lead to business success: your mindset, your processes, and your skills. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Get Savvy Show by the Reluctant Leader Academy. I'm Mark Terrell, and today I'm going to be joined by Rachel Nash, and we're going to be talking about VAs and what they can do for you. I think it's a great time of year to think about actually getting more efficient with our time, delegating stuff that we don't actually want to do, get someone that actually wants to do it, all those things that we put off, but it's really important to get the most from our business. So without further ado, I will bring Rachel on and introduce Rachel. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, Mark.
So Rachel, you are a VA.
I am.
We're not going to go deep into the VA stuff just yet because we're going to look at your motivations in a second. But before we do that, just tell us what a VA is. I think that some people might not actually know what a VA is.
So a VA, or a virtual assistant, although actually you'll find it's commonly being known as a freelancer. What we do is we work for ourselves, offering our skills to organisations, managers, companies who just want some help. Now, normally we're not a full-time resource. We would be somewhere where an organisation or a company may want something as an extra pair of hands to come in and help out due to high levels on a project or various things that are going on, to a small business owner who's not ready to employ anybody yet, and certainly doesn't need anybody full-time and maybe not even part-time, but they need some help. So that's usually the sort of areas where we come along and help out.
And just sort of give us some idea of what sort of things that a VA would do with regards to those sort of tasks.
Goodness me, if you can think of it, we can probably do it. So I come from a corporate background of secretarial, executive assistant, personal assistant, so I can do all those areas, various. But there are lots of them who do telemarketing, CRM administration only. They can be graphic design, SEO content writing, social media marketing. So various different things. They can do accounting, right through to some project management as well. If you can think of what you might need, there will be somebody out there who can probably do it for you.
Yeah, I get the impression out there that the VAs are becoming more and more specialists in what they do, and I do fit, and I hear that VAs are sort of like clubbing together, and so that they can sort of work with people that do things that maybe they don't want to do. And it's almost like a VA getting a VA sort of scenario, I guess.
It is. I say, if you look at us all as people who can do something, what it is, if you bring a VA in, then and you suddenly say to that VA, he or she, I'd like to do X, Y, Z, but it's something you think, oh gosh, I've never done that before as a VA. However, I know somebody who can. How about I introduce you, and they can either come through the VA or come separately. You can actually have as many VAs as you want. So if you've got 10 different areas that you want supporting, you could have 10 different VAs. Obviously, there comes an element of managing that then.
Yes.
But you didn't want employees, but now all of a sudden you've got 10 of us. But there's ways and means around that by going through a VA to can then associate with others, or you can do it yourself. So if you can think of it or dream of it, I'm sure there's somebody out there who can help you with it.
Great stuff. So we're going to look into different things that VAs do and why we should get a VA on board sooner rather than later in a second. Before we do that, though, within the show, we always look at my guests' motivators, our top motivators. So in your case, Rachel, your top three motivators are: number one is freedom, autonomy, the spirit motivator, making your own decisions. Secondly, searcher, doing something worthwhile and meaningful, having a purpose. And thirdly, being an expert, so being knowledgeable about what you do, a specialist in what you do. And I think from what you just said, that's quite apt, isn't it? So the question, Mark, is question to ask you, Rachel, is how do you see these three motivators showing up in what you do in your business?
So, well, I don't know. I kind of feel like they sort of speak for themselves a bit. So the spirit is making my own decisions. When I made the choice to go and be virtual, and initially I was a contractor, which is a freelancer, which is can be virtual. I think that's kind of that element of it is seeking and doing and being free to make my own decisions and decide on who I want to work for as well. Because I know people want to choose a VA, but VAs also choose the people they work for. The searcher, making a difference. And to me, it is about making a difference. I've got a whole wealth of lots of experience in various areas. I mentioned a couple just now. And I think the small business owner appreciates having somebody with a bit of versatility so they can help in all different areas. So I think that definitely makes a difference for them. And the expert, again, linking into that is I do have a lot of knowledge, qualifications in different areas. So it's bringing that in and helping. Now, whether I'm doing it or whether I'm helping them to learn how to do it, regardless, in that sense, it's just trying to help make a difference to people.
Yeah, it's interesting that spirit motivator being your top one. That's not so unusual, especially with people that are running their own business. But the ironic thing is, it's not the actual freedom time-wise they gain. Yes, they gain some freedom with regards to making their own choices, but whether they have a freedom over their time is another thing completely. But that's something to maybe dive into some other time.
Yeah. I would challenge on that being my background, so time management and things. But yes, no, you're absolutely right. And that's why we're here, to help. Yeah.
And I think that's quite relevant, actually, when you think about if you're going to get some help and you're an entrepreneur, if you want freedom, then what you've got to do is find someone that can take those tasks away to free up your time. One of the things that I get my clients to do is a stop-start review, and that's looking at things that they should stop doing. Because they might be good at it, but the problem is if they carry on doing it, it's not going to allow their business to grow. They're doing tasks that are really not what they should be doing, and that's where a VA can come in and take over those sort of tasks and roles.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing those 3 motivators. I think it's always interesting to find out why people do what they do. So let's get back to talking about VAs. And why we'd want a VA. One of the questions that comes up for me, and it's a sort of a leadership challenge as well, is being really clear about what you want someone to do for you. Is that explicitness, being really clear about what are you doing for me. So is that something you find is quite challenging, finding out what it is exactly your clients want, so that you make sure you deliver on that?
Yes, I can find that there can be some false starts initially. Some people are very, very clear about what they want, and they almost give you the guidelines, but you're also caged because that's what they want you to do. That's exactly what it is, and that's what I want. And then there's others who want help. They're not quite sure what help they need. They're not quite sure what value you can add or anything you can do, and that's where you often get your false starts. But it is being clear. And you'll find most experienced VAs will be able to pull that out of somebody. They'll be able to understand and tactfully, most of the time, be able to say, well, yes, I agree with what you're saying there, and I understand what you want to do, but what about if we look at it a little bit like this and perhaps try and help and change things? So it's helping and guiding them, because some don't know exactly what you can and can't do. So it's a two-way process.
Yeah, I guess it's that being proactive as opposed to reactive all the time. It's been suggesting things that might work better, because I'm sure aware that a lot of people don't like changing too much. They get used to a pattern of things, and I suppose that's one of the challenges, is to introduce things that ultimately will save time, but short term probably will take a little while to sort of bed in.
And that's true, because actually, as a manager wanting to let go, you have to be clear about what the task is that you want anybody to do. So you need to know exactly what it is and how long it would take you, so that you know whoever you pass it on to is doing exactly what you want. But it is one of those, yes, no, you're absolutely right. It can be a bit more time up front, but will save time in the long term. Okay,
so let's talk about the sort of tasks that you could hand over then with regards to... I think first of all we'll concentrate on the type of tasks that you do, as opposed to the vast array of things that VAs do. What sort of tasks do you particularly like doing with regards to that sort of role?
So I like a variety of tasks, actually. So the general one is what I kind of class as sort of bread and butter, what you do, and I've done most of my working career, is the email and calendar management. So that's making sure that appointments are booked in and whatever needs to go into there, and managing the emails so that they're responding to. That's from a very basic level, checking that what you've asked for has come in and what's going out goes out right. That's the basic level. But taking that on a step is actually then dealing with the emails, not just tidying them and keeping them, to the stage where somebody can action, is actually taking on that responsibility to action. And I often find that when doing that kind of task, you end up going in, tidying up, sorting out the emails, agreeing between you and the manager who's just what and when and how. And then slowly you find that you're taking on, it's like, do you actually, I can answer these. Are you happy with me to answer these? Yeah, that'd be great. So you slowly move on and take on and get rid of some of the noise that actually helps the manager to concentrate on the more important bits. So I quite enjoy that side of it. Communicating with people and booking them in. You have to be very clear when you're working with somebody as to when somebody wants a meeting. So for yourself, with yourself, Mark, it might just be that if you were going to book an initial call, your initial calls take 40 minutes. You have to be very clear that there is a 40-minute time for you to do it, and any preparation you need and any after time. So there's no point doing 40 minutes, then another 40 minutes, then another 40 minutes, because you'll never get anything done. So you have to be very clear working with somebody on how they want their diary managed. Alongside that, I do social media. And it's very clear. Do they want 1 a week? Do they want 5 a week? Do they want a lot of interaction? Do they want to just sell things? So it's their business after all. You can give advice and put some input into there, but it comes down to what they want. Another area I do at the moment is I'm actually following up on calls. So it's not necessarily lead generation. A quote has already been sent out to somebody, but then often that just gets sat in a system and nobody ever does anything. They get some automated emails going out. But sometimes you just need to make a phone call just to find out, how's it all going? How did you feel about the quote? Is there anything else you need? Is there anything else that we could be helping you on? That puts you back in the foremost of their mind, and it's a real person that they're talking to. So there's a variety of things that can be done.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, there's so many things that I know people get VAs involved with, and obviously the list is endless. But I think going back to the email part is, how much time do people maybe in a leadership position that spend far too much time managing their emails when really they've got more important things that they should be doing, I'm sure, in most instances. And so it's an efficient way of actually, delegating to someone that actually can do those sort of tasks which will distract. That's the thing. When we get distracted, then we're not very efficient, are we?
No, and you're right. That's what happens. I was working for a school, the head of a school within the university at one point, and you're clear on when you're first starting with somebody, you don't know everybody that they're communicating with. But what happens slowly is that they know they can trust you to raise the questions they need to see, and then to deal with everything else. So that there's a meeting coming up, so you get that sorted. There's nothing there, paperwork's done, all this stuff's done, in all the information that they need. And then something else comes in and you look at it and you think, well, yeah, I can deal with that. Or you have a quick phone call and say, right, these are the questions I have for you today. Yeah, that's fine. And then you go away and do them. So you just have a quick check-in when you're not sure and when it's not clear. But usually the longer you work with somebody, the more you can pick up for them anyway.
Yeah. I got being that proactive, looking for things that you can add
Absolutely,
on and support more. And it's a really efficient way of actually expanding your capabilities with regards to, if you're a business owner, with you summed up at the beginning where, we hold off probably too long getting help because we think about employing people. But when we've got the facility to get someone that's more flexible, like a VA, then we can test the water, see that things work well, maybe things that maybe don't work quite so well when you delegate them, and make sure that you get more of a feel for it. So when if you want to go down the route of full-time, sort of finding someone full-time, you've got a better idea of what those tasks can, getting someone that's actually good at those tasks that you want to outsource or delegate.
You can, and you can actually get the VA to help you with that, with the recruitment as well, and with the handover. Most VAs aren't expecting to do a role forever. They're expecting somebody to either move on to more permanent people and maybe still utilising the VA on a lesser level as somebody they can go back to when there's holiday or things happen or extra pair of hands. But when you start needing somebody for a lot more hours, the decision then is that actually, like you say, we need to bring somebody in. Well, I've got somebody here who's perfect, who knows what needs to be done, so they can train them and they can oversee them as letting go as well. So you can start handing off, because a permanent employee has to have a lot more onboarding than you would when you onboard a VA.
That's a great point. You know, that probably a lot of people wouldn't think about asking your VA to help you employ someone permanently, but actually it's another thing that you can do.
Yes.
So let's talk about how you find the right VA then. And you've already sort of said you've got your specialities, and you know others have got. So how do you go about that? How would you recommend someone finding a VA if they are looking to get some help?
So I think they need to understand and start at least have an idea of what they want first, what they want to use them for, because it's, you know, you can go out there. I mean, I've had plenty of conversations with managers, some of which have never used a VA at all, even afterwards, because it's very clear that what they thought they might use one for is probably not going to happen, and it's not going to work for them, because the way it is, almost they're going to give you a step in a 10-step process. It's like, well, what is the point really? Because unless I can do 8 of those 10 steps, I'm not going to add any value. And that'd be the same for anybody. So you need to be really clear on what you want. You do need to make space in your diary to find somebody. Talk to people who've already got VAs. Talk to them and just say, it doesn't mean you're going to use the same VA. And some people can be quite protective of their VAs as well, actually. They don't want them getting too busy, because they don't, well, yeah, exactly. They want them available for themselves rather than that. But you know, most people with networking and places like that, you've got lots of people who use various different VAs and things like that. Have a chat with them and get some thoughts, and maybe even have a conversation with someone who's too busy to take you on, so that you can find out a little bit more about it. But there are some fundamentals that you need to know. You need to make sure that your VA has everything in place that's going to be needed. So they are going to be potentially access to your clients, access to information. So you want to make sure that they're running the antivirus software, everything's backed up and everything's secure. So if anything should happen, they can access it for you. And they should also be registered with the ICO. You need to understand and think about how much time you can afford, because once you've got somebody's costs, it's all very well thinking, oh yeah, I can throw this and throw that at somebody, but you need to realistically think about your budget, because you might want somebody for 40 hours a month, but actually you can only afford about 15. So you might need to think about, in the short term anyway, what you're going to need them for. How quickly will they be able to help you? Are you wanting somebody that would work at the drop of a hat? Most VAs won't necessarily do that, because they've potentially got other clients who've also got demands. If you're somebody who's going to want to be checking every 30 minutes on what they're doing, that's not going to work either, because while you're distracting them from both your work and other people's work. Are they insured? They should have professional indemnity insurance, just to make sure that everything they do from a professional point of view. And then you know that they're basically, when it comes down to insurance, if they haven't got it, you'd have to stop and consider, why not? You know, you want to make sure that this person is definitely a professional and what they're doing. And then there's a couple of other things around that, about whether you're happy to work with a VA who is on their own. I'm a single VA, although I do have support and I have associates as well. But you need to decide whether it's a team of people that you're actually employing, or whether it's a person that you're employing. So there's lots and lots of different things to consider. Most VAs would be happy to have a conversation with you just to help you identify that, even if it turns out they're not the right one for you.
Yeah. We've got a comment from Dr. Jennifer Hawkins, and she's saying, we can't see that. Maybe bring up a bit. Good advice. I will repost you, listen a bit, and then stop being distracted and get back to my writing. Oh dear. So we've been counterproductive. We've distracted. So thanks for that. So what I was going to suggest, what would be interesting is that there might be people that will listen to this and think, well, I quite like the thought of actually being a VA. So what's your recommendations about that, about becoming a VA?
So there are lots of options out there for what it is. They would need to do their research, make sure they understand what they want. I set up few years ago now, with a printer and a laptop and no clients as such in that sense. But I had skills, and I used my networks through word of mouth at the time to start talking to people. And what I did is I ended up working for people who already knew me in my previous business capacity. So they knew my capabilities, and that helped give me the sort of stepping stones in order to work up from there. Some VAs coming into it want to do free work for other VAs as an associate, but that's not always the right way of going about it, because you won't get paid the same, and you'll only get what they don't want to do, so you're not learning. Yeah. But make sure you're registered, make sure you've got your insurance, and make sure you've got contracts in place. So that's the main things, that's to show somebody that you're serious about it. And all VAs out there will be happy to discuss with somebody. So if there's a VA out there who's thinking about it, get in contact with me through LinkedIn, through my website, through Facebook, whatever you want to do. I'd be more than happy to talk somebody through it and help them, give them the support and point them in the right directions for the right sort of groups to actually join. I do networking, but I also do specific networking with VAs as well, where we all learn from each other.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and I think that's a healthy way of looking at things. I think this day and age, you see more of that going on, where people are collaborating that do very similar things. Like yes. I do, I work with business coaches who do the nuts and bolts, sort of running the sort of putting the process in place, whereas I concentrate more on the leadership side of the business, and it's a really good way to sort of help a business with your speciality. Again, going back to yes. having a speciality. Yes. So that's great advice. And I guess one of the biggest challenges, and you sort of alluded to it, is actually finding clients, almost that marketing and sales element, which I guess is, with most business owners, that is the biggest challenge in my experience.
Yes, and I think some of the virtual assistant forums that I belong to, one of the things that a new VA says is, where do you find your clients? How do you find your clients? Where do we go? And it's the same for any business, not just a VA, but for any business. With that, the question is, and I found networking and word of mouth tends to work the best when you know somebody is good. And I will say that there are plenty of VAs out there that I would recommend to anybody who do things that A, I don't like doing, and B, I can't do. So I'd be more than happy to recommend them. But likewise, there are others out there that I just wouldn't, because of experiences and the way you hear through things. And that's the same with any business, with any client in that sense. So I think it's using your own networks, get out there, put yourself about, as they say, and just be seen and talk to people. And the more you can get out there, the more people get to know you, the better chance you have of picking up some business, regardless of what it is you're looking for. As you know, as a coach as well, it's the same for you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And next thing I was going to go on to is sort of the relationship you have with your clients is really important. And because you're going to be seeing stuff that is potentially can be, sensitive. So that's obviously, it's a big trust thing with regards to finding the right person. Yeah, is that one of the biggest things that people sort of hold back getting someone, like a VA, do you think?
I think it probably is. I have confidentiality within my contracts, and once I've signed it, we've got a confidentiality agreement and data processing agreement as well. So I'm contracted under that. So there's some comeback for anybody who felt that I've done something wrong, and because I'm covered with the ICO as well, if they want to, they can raise a complaint from me. But it is that I do work with some who, within my contract, I think I mentioned just now, I can bring in associates, and I have a couple of associates who support me in areas, but I also have a couple of clients who specifically asked me to take that clause out, and I am the only person who will look at their data. So they know that the only person who's touching it or seeing it is me. So it's just being open and honest with who you're working for and who you're working with, what they're looking for and what they don't. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. So have you got any funny stories to tell us that, since you didn't actually, think about when you started down the VA route that sort of led you down a different path maybe, or anything that sort of comes to mind?
No, I don't think I have. Gosh, you should have warned me about this one before, Mark, and I could have had a little think about it. Oh, did it?
You'll probably remember something once we finish talking. It's always the way, isn't it? But we always have sort of funny things that happen to us that and it's like with anything, when you start working with someone, having some sort of relationship with someone on a sort of professional level, there's always things that sort of happen that are quite comical, because you never know quite what people are going to be like, do you? That's for sure.
No, that's true. That's true.
With networking, I mean, we met networking, and you find, some people are very relaxed about networking. Some people are the opposite, and it's you sort of have to find some sort of happy medium with regards to meeting them in the middle. And again, that's very much with regards to sort of leadership is about meeting people in the middle and understanding people come and see things from a different perspective as you. And that understanding and relationship, I guess, is really, really important to when you're working with someone that's employed you to help them save time. So
I think we can be very conscious that you don't want to keep going back and asking questions, doing things, because your whole point of it is that you're there to save them time. So yeah.
Great stuff. Right, sadly our time's running out, Rachel. So before you go, how can people connect with you, find you, and all those sort of things?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Rachel Nash. I'm on Facebook, again, Rachel Nash. And I've got my website, which is sos-bristol.co.uk. So if anybody wants to get in contact with me, they're very welcome to. Happy to help.
I love the SOS. Stands for Smart Office Solutions, but SOS. It's very, very apt, isn't it? Yes. Rachel, thank you for today. It's been really interesting and useful. And those that have listened, please leave some comments. If you've got any questions for me or Rachel, then feel free to drop them in the comments and we'll get back to you. But for now, Rachel, thank you for your time, and I will see you somewhere, probably networking, very, very soon.
I'm sure you will. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks. Cheers. Right, thank you, Rachel. And that's
Is that
it? No, we're still alive.
I haven't thought of a funny thing either, actually.
So we are I'm just going to wrap things up. So that was Rachel talking about VAs. I think it's an interesting thing to think about when you're expanding your business. Get some help, especially someone that's really specialist at what they do. And there is lots of specialists around with regards to VAs, whether it's that traditional PA sort of relationship, or whether people like what Rachel told us, that she did some social media work. There's lots of VAs that do that now. And there is such an array of different tasks that VAs can do for you. So have a look around if you think that you need some help. And Rachel will be a great person to speak to if you need some help to find somebody. So that's this episode of the Get Savvy Show. I will hopefully see you very shortly on the next episode. But for now, have a great day and stay safe.